Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is while you're watching this, and welcome to my 25,000 mile review of a Royal Enfield 411 Himalayan. It builds on the earlier 10,000 mile review, so if you haven't already seen that film, have a look at the card in the top right hand corner, because this review builds on the 10,000 mile review rather than covering the same ground again. Apart from the fact it's a really fun bike. So first off, issues with the bike. I'm on my third set of head bearings because they have failed on me twice. This may be because, similar to my Gladioli, the head bearing seals serve a dual purpose. The top one lets the water in, the bottom one keeps it there. So just be aware that if there's any notchiness in the head bearings, you may need to get them replaced. I did touch on oil consumption, and the important thing is keep your oil topped up. You can see here it's approaching the bottom mark, and the lower the oil, the more oil will be used. So you do need to keep on top of this. Another issue that was sorted under warranty and was mentioned in the first film was the front brake light switch. These are known to be prone to sticking, but my one did eventually fail at about 21,000 miles and was replaced under warranty. Look at the exhaust pipe, shows it's going a nice Donald Trump orange colour. A little bit of corrosion there, but the pipe is still sound. On the swing arm on the right hand side, there's a little bit of paint flecked off here. I thought it was because of off-roading and maybe a stone chip, but there's also what appears to be rubbing marks, so it might be, if you venture off-road a lot and get a lot of rear suspension travel, that the rear brake line and ABS wiring come in contact with the swing arm and rub a bit of paint off. The fixings for the engine casings are still nice and clean, but the fixings for the engine mountings aren't quite so good. Yeah, these need a bit of a clean up and an ACF 50ing, but they should really be a little bit better than that. The only other issue with the finishes is actually on aftermarket stuff. I've got an uprated luggage rack that will take a Givi E45 Monarchy top box, and you can see here that there's a little bit of corrosion on both the mounting point and the new mounting point for the indicators, which have to be moved to fit the rack. Also on the luggage system, on the left hand side of the bike, the powder coating has flecked off on the pannier mounting rail. There's a little bit of paint flecked off as well on the footrest. The bit at the front here is probably due to stones and other bits and pieces when off riding, but the bit at the bottom is because, believe it or not, you can actually get the foot pegs down. A friend of mine and discoverer of Young's Law, Richard Young, told me that I was getting the bike over quite a long way when we were out on the twisties, and you can see here from the film that indeed it's possible. And once you hit 36 degrees angle of dangle, the foot pegs will meet the tarmac. Now this wasn't done on standard tyres, but on the Continental TKC 70, which are 30% trail and 70% road biased, and blooming good tyres for the Himalayan 411. The rear one here, you can see there's loads of tread left even after 11,000 miles. Looking more closely at some of the tread blocks, you can see there's strange patterns appearing, and that's probably to do with the combination of high mileage on road and also off-road riding. I've already covered, as you can see in the card in the top right hand corner, the unusual wear on the front tyre blocks. So here's a quick overview and a little bit of a view of some of the other blocks as well, to show some cracking for when these have been used off-road and on-road. I don't know which has caused the cracking. If you get a set of TKC 70s and only ride on-road, you may be able to provide an answer. So these again have done about 11,000 miles and will soon be replaced. With time, you do get a nice little bit of movement on the side stand. This is caused by the gradual opening up of the top of the side stand. It's like a fork either side of the frame member, and it's quite useful rather than being a problem, because if you're off-roading or even on-road on a slopey car park and you need a bit more of an angle of dangle on your bike, you can simply push the side stand out and get more of a lean angle. Now if the lean angle is getting too much for you, it's possible to remove the side stand because you've got a centre stand, chuck it in a vise and just squeeze the fork part back together. There will be a fatigue failure with this over time. I don't know how long, I've not done it, but if you need a new one, you're looking at just under 40 quid including VAT for a new side stand. If you think that that's a little bit on the spicy side, the one for the Tracer 9 is nearly 90 quid. It's also a special order item from Japan, and you've got no idea how long that's going to take to get to you. When it comes to the brakes, I've replaced the front set of pad with HH ratings, and these still have plenty of mileage left on them. There's a bit of an odd thing. When you look at the front disc, the pads aren't actually the same size as the rotor, so there's an unused section. If you're looking at a Himalayan, this is perfectly normal, so don't worry about it. The original chain and sprocket lasted about 9,000 miles, and I replaced that with a DID chain and sprocket set, and that's done 16,000 miles, and it's not quite ready for a change, but it will be soon. Now, I really do prefer to use proper tools rather than the ones supplied with the bike for doing any work, but I did need to do a quick chain adjustment on a high mileage ride and found I couldn't with the bike toolkit. The rear spindle has a 24mm across flats retaining nut, and the so-called 24mm spanner provided with the bike toolkit is actually too small. I did have another tool I could use, so I did nip the chain up, and once I was back home did it all properly. Now, in case you think I've been doing quite a lot of whinging about the Himalayan 411, I've not finished yet. Although it may not seem like it, I do like to try to make people's lives easier. And if I'm getting a new tyre fitted, I'll take the wheel out of the bike and take it in to get sorted out. However, when it comes to removing the rear tyre on the Himalayan, you have to take off both the chain guard and the shark fin to be able to do this. There's no way of getting the wheel out otherwise, unless somebody's found a way. In which case, please tell me, because I like an easy life. As well as an easy life, I also like dogs. So meeting this lady walking a pack, I think the correct term is, was a pleasure when I was doing a bit of green laning. I'll always stop and chat to people just in case they're going to be of the you shouldn't be riding your motorbike up here bit, when I can pull out an OS map and say, no, we all can on this one. And they were very friendly dogs, and I was allowed to make a fuss of them. That's all good. The Himalayan 411 has 3,000 mile service intervals. This is because the valves are operated by a screw and lock nut tappet system. Also, the 12,000 mile intervals, such as the 12 and 24,000, are major services. The fork oil gets changed, as does the brake fluid. Other service intervals see the swing arm pivots getting greased as well. So there's a lot more work goes into servicing one of these than some other bikes. And you can see from what I've spent at a main dealer how much this will cost you to run over 24,000 miles. In my case, just under 3,000 quid for servicing. Now, one of these services did involve fitting the Givey spotlights, which once I'd pulled all the wiring out of the box, I thought, stuff that, and a couple of other minor items which won't be on your servicing list. So if you're looking at buying a Himalayan and it's approaching 12 or 24,000, you might want to factor in the price of a service. And of course, these are age related as just mileage related. I tend to do a lot of miles, so my services are dictated by miles rather than years. One other thing I've done, I managed to get a buckle in the front wheel. I'm not sure if this is due to off-roading and hitting a few lumps and bumps, or riding on the tarmac and hitting a few lumps and bumps due to the state of the roads in the UK. Getting a front wheel relaced with a new rim is going to set you back about 140 quid, which is a bit cheaper than the price of a Himalayan front wheel, which is north of 400. That's 10% of the price of the bike when I bought it. Seems rather excessive to me. Well, we're now over 8 minutes into what appears to be a whinge-a-thon, and I can assure you this is far from the case. The 411 Himalayan is a great bike, provided you don't want to be sitting at motorway speeds 2 up with lots of luggage. The reason isn't 2 up or lots of luggage is the speed. Much above 60, the bike will use a fair bit of oil and a fair bit of fuel. Keeping to 60 or below with the mix of urban, A roads, twisty back roads and green lanes that I do, you can easily get 80 miles per gallon out of one of these. And for me, by far the most important thing, it's bloody fun. If you've watched the 10,000 mile review, you'll have heard me extol the virtues of how much fun one of these is. The low centre of gravity makes it great off-roads, and I've been leading rides for Cooperb around green lanes to give people a taste of their first bit of off-roading. And we've had scrams Himalayans of both 411 and 450, and a few interlopers who really need to learn what it's like to ride a Himalayan on these rides, and everybody's had a great time. Well, I suppose I'd better stop blathering and start summing up. It's a great bike. My local Enfield dealer doesn't seem to get many 411s in, and when I asked him about it, he said it's because as soon as they come in, somebody will buy them. People have been buying these as soon as they appear online. It's also the same with the 450. If they're not actually nailed to the showroom floor, they go out the door pretty much as soon as they come in. Now, I don't have any figures for how many Himalayans have been sold over the years, but if they're not sitting in a showroom, it means people want them. I'm not intending to get rid of mine anytime soon, and that's about the highest praise I can give a bike. Anyway, if you've got one, you know how good they are. If you're thinking of getting one, don't wait around. That's it from me for this review. Tatty bye for now.